Hello everyone, welcome to the night class. I'm Coach Knight. We're going to go over your Chapter 3 practice test here real quick. We've already been over the review, so I'll go as quick as I can so the video is not as long. This is just if you have any questions about how I got something, you can come here and hopefully get your questions answered. So let's get started. Number one, we are flipping it or completing the graph if it's symmetric with respect to the line y equals x. The line y equals x is this diagonal line that goes right through the origin. So we're basically, if it's symmetric with respect to that line, we're flipping it over that line. So like I've told y'all, it doesn't have to be exact, just so long as it kind of resembles the other one, you'll be good. Okay, so that's where this one would be flipped over the diagonal line. Okay. Number two, is it the function even, odd, or neither? It's even if all the exponents are even, it's odd if all the exponents are odd, and it's neither if you have a combination of both even and odd exponents. So 4 is even, 2 is even. Again, if it's just a number without a variable, that means that the variable had the exponent of 0, and that's even as well. So this problem is even. All right. Number 3, we are identifying the change in the parent function that will produce the related function shown as the dashed line. Excuse me. So, looks like it goes over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, and 1, 2, 3 down. So that means we are going to say f of x equals absolute value, because my parent function is an absolute value, x, and to move it right 5, we actually subtract 5, goes on the inside. To move it down 3, we put minus 3, goes on the outside. And that's all there is to that. One more time, I'll kind of move that quick. Okay. Number 4, you are graphing, so you need to make an XY table. This one is pretty simple. We don't have to use the axis of symmetry like we did on our review on this one. I know my first x just needs to be 0, and I'm going to plug 1 in. I know that because there's no b. It's not ax squared plus bx plus c. There's no b. And anytime there's no b, my first x is going to be 0. So we got 0, 1, and if I plug in, we'll do 2. Well, I'm going crazy here. If we go 2 and negative 2, we will get negative 3 and negative 3. And then we'll draw our coordinate plane, x and y axis. And we plot our points. 0, 1 would be there. 2, negative 3 is down there. Negative 2, negative 3 is down here. And since it's only a greater than sign, we shade down. Or it's a dotted line, excuse me. Not that we go down. We go down because it was negative, but it's a dashed line, and it's greater than, so we shade everything above the line. So that would be what my graph looks like. Number 5, given f of x equals 1/7 times the square root of 81 minus x squared, find f of negative, or the inverse of f of x, and then state whether the inverse of f of x is a function or not. So, I'm not really sure what that kind of graph looks like. So what I would do is I would graph it. On my calculator, we got 1/7 times the square root of, I done forgot what it was, square root of 81 minus x squared. So 81 minus x squared. And I graph. And if I look, that does not pass the horizontal line test. So my answer as far as the inverse of this is not going to be a function. So I know right now to state whether it's a function or not. It is not a function. And I need to work it out to figure out what the inverse f of x is. So I'm going to switch out my x and y. Multiply both sides by 7. And I get 7x equals the square root of 81 minus y squared. I square both sides. Subtract 81 from both sides. Divide by -1 everywhere. And for my last step, take the square root. And so we're going to have plus or minus the square root of 81 minus 49 x squared equals y. So that is your inverse f of x. Now, I promise you the one on your test will not be that long. That's a promise, okay? All right, number 6, determine whether it has infinite jump point discontinuity or is it continuous. So remember we talked about this yesterday. I'm going to factor the top. If there's a variable on the bottom, whatever makes the bottom 0, it would make it an infinite discontinuity unless that gets canceled out somehow. And so I believe this one is going to be canceled out because I can factor out an x on top, and that will leave me with x squared plus 5x plus 6 over x, and these x's cancel. As soon as they cancel, it went from being infinite to point discontinuity. Okay. Number 7, just like on your review, you're just dividing by 9, so it is continuous. There's no variables in the denominator. No worries about that. Number 8, describe the end behavior. So, again, don't worry about anything but the biggest exponent. All of these will be as x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches something, and as x approaches positive infinity, f of x approaches something. So we got to figure out what f of x is approaching. So if I plug in negative infinity, that will be 3 times negative infinity cubed. Negative cubed stays negative, times 3 would be negative infinity. And if I plug in positive infinity cubed is positive infinity times 3 is also positive infinity. So, as always, remember if it's an odd exponent, your f of x should be going to opposite things. So with this f of x, the top one is going to negative infinity, the bottom one is going to positive infinity. Here, number 9, again, don't worry about anything that's smaller, just worry about the biggest one. As x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches something, and as x approaches positive infinity, f of x approaches something. So let's plug it in and let's see. So 2 times negative infinity to the 5th. Negative to an odd power would stay negative, times 2 would stay negative. So it's negative infinity. And 2 times positive infinity to the 5th. Positive infinity times 2 is positive infinity. Number 10, same thing. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. So make sure you know how to do them. Okay? They have a lot of these on the test. So please, please make sure you understand how to do them. All right, so again, don't worry about anything but the biggest one, which is right there, negative infinity cubed. Do not multiply the two negatives first, all right? Pim das. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you do parentheses, then exponents before you do multiplication. So you have to do this exponent first. So that will be negative infinity cubed, which is positive infinity. Okay? This one, negative times positive infinity cubed, will be negative infinity. And once again, odd exponent, they're going to opposite things. Okay? 11, as x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches, and as x approaches positive infinity, f of x approaches. So this time we have an odd exponent, or excuse me, an even exponent. So now my f of x's should be approaching the same thing. So if I plug in negative infinity to the fourth, negative to a fourth power will make it positive. Positive times 2 gives you positive infinity. And if you just plug in infinity to the fourth, that will also give you positive infinity. And last one, again, just worry about the biggest one. As x approaches negative infinity, f of x approaches something, and as x approaches positive infinity, f of x approaches something. So here we go, plugging in negative 5 times negative infinity cubed. That would be negative 5 times negative infinity, which is positive infinity. Negative 5 times positive infinity cubed would be negative 5 times positive infinity, which is negative infinity. Okay? Again, you have 5 of them. Please don't miss them, okay? They're too easy. Number 5, find the relative minimum and relative maximum points for the graph of x cubed minus 6x squared plus 9x minus 8. So I'm going to go to my calculator. 14 and 13, or 13 and 14 are just calculator problems. I'm going to go to my y equals, clear that out. It was x cubed minus 6x squared plus 9x minus 8. X cubed minus 6x squared plus 9x minus 8. Let me make sure I got that right. Minus 6x squared plus 9x minus 8. All right, we're good. We're cooking. Here we go. So you put this in your calculator, you hit second and trace, and you want to find the maximum and minimums. Okay, so number 4 is maximum. We'll do it first. Here is my maximum up here on the left, so I'm going to, well, it didn't. Oh, here we go. I'm going to move my cursor to the left of it, hit enter, scroll to the right of the maximum, hit enter, and like I said, you will have to hit enter 2 more times before it tells you the maximum. Mine's telling me right now my maximum is 1, negative 4. So relative maximum at 1, negative 4, and I'm going to have a relative minimum. I got to go back and see. So second trace, go to minimum, which is number 3. I know my minimum's somewhere around here, so just to be sure, put it to the left of it, hit enter, put it to the right, hit enter, and my minimum is 2.999998, which is 3, negative 8. So 3, negative 8. 14, doing the same thing, so just different equations. So let me plug in x cubed minus 75x plus 4. So y equals x cubed minus 75x minus 4. Make sure I got that right. X cubed minus 75x plus 4. So I need to change that to plus 4. There we go. And hit graph. Whew. I can't really see this one, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit, which is number 3. And it's not letting me zoom out. Okay, no big deal. That's all right. I know I can just do my maximum. I know the maximum is somewhere over there. So I need to look and see if I can't find it. Let's see here. I'm at -3. Let's see here. I may not be able to do this one with this calculator. Huh. I gave you a bad problem to do on the practice test. Let me try a different calculator because this one is not coming in very good. So let's see here. Where is old Desmos? Your problem on your test will not be this difficult. You will be able to see it. It will be nice and pretty. So it was minus 75x plus 4. All right. So, oops, plus 4. Make sure that's right. Y equals negative 75x plus 4. Okay. So with Desmos, I can actually make it skinnier and you can actually see them. Good gracious. Okay. And then all I have to do on Desmos is just click up there and click it. So my maximum, my relative maximum is -5,254. Relative max. -5,254, and my relative minimum is, click on it. Oop, where'd it go? It's not letting me click on it. Why won't it let me click on it? There we go. 5 -246. 5 -246. All right, there's another promise. I promise you it will not be that big on your test. Okay, deal? Deal. All right. 15 and 16, you're finding your vertical, horizontal, and slant asymptotes. Just like on your review, you can't have 3 of them at the same time. You can't have all 3. So remember, if it's a higher one on top, that means you cannot have a horizontal. So we don't have a horizontal on either of these. All we have are vertical and slants. So to get the vertical, if you've forgotten, you're going to factor the bottom. 2 numbers that multiply to be -4 and add up to -3 are -4 and +1. So that means we have a vertical asymptote at x equals +4 and x equals -1. Okay, it's always the opposite. It's what makes the denominator 0. To get the slant asymptote, we're going to say y equals, and we're going to do long division. So x squared minus 3x minus 4, and we're going to put under here negative, or 2x to the third minus 7x squared minus 4x plus 2. Again, don't worry about anything behind it. You're just looking at the numbers in front. So what times x squared gives you 2x cubed? And the answer is 2x. So everything's opposite after you subtract it. So 2x times x cubed, or x squared, is 2x cubed. But you do the opposite, so you do minus. 2x times -3x is -6x squared, but you do the opposite, so you make it plus. 2x times negative 4 is negative 8x, but again, you do the opposite, so you put plus. Add all those up. The x cubes cancel. Negative x squared plus 4x. You bring down your 2, plus 2. What times x squared gives you negative x squared? That's easy. That's negative 1. And like I told you on the review, you can stop right now because there is your equation, y equals 2x minus 1. You do not have to continue on and find the remainder when you are trying to find the asymptotes. You are done at this point. Okay? So 16, same process. We got x and x. We're going to figure out what two numbers multiply to be 2 and add up to 3. Well, that's 2 and 1. So we have vertical asymptotes at x equals negative 2 and x equals negative 1. And then my slant asymptote, I got to come over here and do a little work. Do long division. So x squared plus 3x plus 2. And under the box you get 2x cubed plus 8x squared plus 11x plus 11. And if by chance you get one and they skip, they see how the exponents go down, 3, 2, 1, 0. If they happen to skip one, just put a 0 there. I don't think that happens, but just in case, just put a 0 to hold the place. Put 0x squared. All right. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if let's say we didn't have that 8x squared there, it was just nothing. It just said 2x cubed plus 11x plus 11. I would put a 0x squared there just to hold that place in when I'm dividing. Okay. You may not have to know that, but I wanted to talk about it just in case. I can't remember what's on the test. So we got minus or plus 8x squared. So asking what times x squared gives me 2x cubed. Once again, it's 2x. That's popular, seems like. So 2x times x squared is 2x cubed. You do the opposite, so you subtract it. 2x times 6x is, 2x times 3x is 6x squared. But again, we do the opposite. So subtract 6x squared. 2x times 2 is 4x, but we do the opposite, so negative 4x. And then we add them up. So 2x squared plus, 7x. Bring down your 11. X times what, or x squared times what gives you 2x squared, and the answer is 2. So there's your answer right there, 2x squared, or 2x plus 2. Y equals 2x plus 2 is your slant height. Again, you don't have to keep going and get the remainder because you don't need the remainder. Okay? And then finally, our last 6 are the constant of variation problems. You have direct variations, you have inverse variations, and you have joint variations. So you just got to remember, direct variations and joint variations, you are multiplying. Inverse variations, you are dividing. So 17, I'm going to write them down here. 17 says varies directly as x, so y equals k times x. Y is 15 equals k. X is 5. We divide by 5 to get our k. Ta-da! K is done. To write the equation, we're going to have y equals 3x. You just plug in k. And then find y when x equals 6. So y will be 3 times 6. Y is 18. 18. Again, all of these will have 3 answers. Make sure you put all 3 answers, okay? This time we are varying directly as the square of x. So that's going to be y equals k times x squared. So same, just like 17, only x is squared. So it says y is 16 over 3 equals k times x is 4. So 4 squared. We divide by 16 and divide by 16. K will equal 1/3. Okay? If If you divided 16 thirds by 16, you get 1/3. Plug in your answer. Y equals 1/3 times x. Remember, this one was an x squared. Don't forget your x squared. And then we plug it in where it says find y when x is 8. So 1/3 times 8 squared. Y will equal 64 over 3. 8 squared is 64 over 3. Let me double check that just to remember. You got the answers in the back, so you have all the answers. Yeah, we go 64 over 3. That was the wrong one though. Do we have two of them that are 64? We sure do. 64 over 3 is 18. Okay. All right, moving on. 19. This time we are varying inversely as the square of x. So that means we are dividing k by x squared. Plug your numbers in. So y is 1/3. K over 3, or x is 3. So 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. So we multiply both sides by 9. And k will be 9 divided by 3 is 3. Write the equation by plugging in k, 3 over x squared. And then they want to know what is y when x is 6. So y equals 3 over 6 squared. That will be 3 over 36, which reduces to 1 over 12. Okay? 3 over 36, 1 over 12. That's right. All right, 3 more. Almost done. So this 20, we are inversely varying as the square of x again. So it's just like the one we just did. Y equals k over x squared. Plug in. It says y is 1/6 equals k over x. Excuse me. X is 2. So 2 squared. So we're going to multiply both sides by 4. That will be 4/6, which reduces to 2/3 is your k, because 4 over 6 reduces to 2/3. Write your equation. That will be y equals 2/3 over x squared, or you can write it 2 over 3x squared. Okay, I'll take either answer though. And then they want to find y when x is 8. So y equals 2/3 times 8 squared. Well, that's rather large. That's 2 over 64 times 3. So let me look on my calculator real quick, because I'm not sure what 64 times 3 is. 64 times 3, 192. 2 over 192, and that reduces, always reduce your fractions. I believe that would reduce to, let's see here, well, let's see here, 1 over, it'll go in 91, 90, yeah, no, 96, 1 over 96. Let me just double check that on number 20. 1 over 90, yep, there we go. 1 over 96, we are correct. All right. 21, I don't have much room to work yet, so I'm going to do it down here. Sorry for the smudges. All right, so 21, we are varying inversely one more time as the square of x. Man, they like them this time, those inverses and the squares of x's. So k over x squared, y is 4/9 this time, equals k over x is 3. So 3 squared, well, that's just 4/9 equals k over 9. So k has to be 4. Because if the bottoms are the same, then the tops have to be the same. Plug in to get your equation. Y equals 4 over x squared. And then it wants to know what is x when y, or what is y when x is 4. So plug in 4. Y equals 4 over 4 squared. That will be 1 over 4. 4. It's 4/16, which is 1/4. All right, just double check, make sure that's right. 1/4, we got it. Okay. And then last but not least, 22. Y equals, it says directly as x and the square of z. So obviously I fixed it on your review. I forgot to fix it on your practice test. That should say jointly, because we're varying directly as two things, which means it's jointly. So x and the square of z. So that's y equals k times x z squared. It says y is 30, x is 5, z is 3. So we're going to divide this. Let's see here. That's 9 times 5 is 45. Divide by 45. K reduced. Let's see here. K 5 will go into 30. I don't know, 6 times. And 5 will go into 45 9 times. And I can even reduce that to more. It would be 2/3. So K is 2/3. You will, of course, have your calculator, and it will reduce it for you, so you won't have that trouble. Write the equation. Y equals 2/3 x times z squared. And they want to know what is y when x is 8 and z is 2. So plug it in. Y equals 2/3 times 8 times 2 squared. That will be, let's see here, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8 times 8 is 64 on top over 3. All right. That is your practice test worked out. Please make sure you study hard. And like I said, make sure you know these last 6 and those in behavior problems. There are 5 of them. So there's 6 of these and 5 of those. That's 11 questions. There's only 22 on the test. So half the test come from those. So make sure you know how to do those very good. I miss y'all. Hope y'all are doing well. Have a great 3-day weekend and do good on your test tomorrow. Talk to you later. Always stay above the line.